morning and welcome to our today's lesson. I'm Mesha Kodiko, teacher of biology. So today we want to look at something about the factors in an ecosystem. So maybe somebody is asking what is an ecosystem, but these are things that we have talked about. So an ecosystem is defined as a unit that is comprising of both living and non-living factors, those that we call abiotic and biotic factors, and the way the two factors interact to bring about the movement, or rather the distribution of organisms in a particular area. So we want to look at in any ecosystem, this unit that comprises the factors. We have those that are said to be abiotic factors, and we have what we are calling biotic factors. So abiotic factors are factors that are said to be non-living, and how they interact in such a way that they bring about distribution of organisms in a particular area. When I'm going to talk about this distribution here, you may realize that due to the fact that an area is conducive for a particular organism, many of such organisms may be found in that area. But if the area is not conducive, then you're going to find that many organisms may die, maybe due to starvation. Some of them may migrate so that they seek other alternative areas of survival. So we are going to look at abiotic factors. These are said to be non-living factors of the environment that affect the distribution of organisms. So there are quite a number. We are going to start with the number one, what we are calling temperature. By definition, we know that temperature is defined as the hotness or coldness of a place at any particular time, because it varies. So we have a lot of effects of temperature on the distribution of organisms here. Number one, we have to look at that suitable temperature. A lot of activities that take place within an ecosystem are factors that are controlled by mostly enzymes. For example, when we are talking about photosynthesis as a process, suitable temperature is required for photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process that is controlled by enzymes, and enzymes work best at what we call optimum temperature. That optimum temperature can only be conducive for those enzymes so that it can carry out photosynthesis. So that means that an area that is having an extreme temperature may not carry out photosynthesis, and therefore if it doesn't carry out photosynthesis, many herbivores will tend to migrate away from that region because there will be no food. So again, we are going to talk about temperature will affect soil formation and weathering processes. Then we have it playing a role in germination. That suitable temperature, germination, that is the development of a seed into a seedling, that one can be brought about by a suitable temperature. Then again, it also influences what we call hibernation and estivation. When I talk about hibernation, here is the state where an organism will go into hiding when there is extreme hot conditions. Then estivation, extreme cold conditions. So they tend to hibernate and estivate so that they protect themselves against adverse conditions. Number two, we are talking about light. Light, as we know, is very, very vital, because it is if you look at the main source of energy on Earth is the sunlight energy. So everything that we see, that any form of energy that we see, we have the sunlight as the main source. So the effect of light will depend on the aspects. That is, we have three aspects of light. We have what we call light duration, we have light intensity, and light wavelength. So we talk about light duration. It is referring to the time that is taken when that light is still being shown. So we talk about intensity, we talk about the strength with which light is shown. The wavelength is kind of the quality of that light that is required for any particular activity. So we know that light affects the opening and closing of stomata. It also affects the photosynthesis. So you can realize that light is also used by many organisms to perceive objects. So when there is light in an area, you may find a lot of organisms accumulating there. And when there is no light, only those organisms that maybe can use dim light, like nocturnal animals, will be found in such areas. So light affects the distribution of organisms in many ways. When we come to water, we know that all living organisms depend on water for their survival. One, water is a universal solvent in chemical reactions that take place within the body of an organism. Water is also used for the transportation of these materials that are from one region to another. Water is an habitat for aquatic animals, because we know very well that water has got what we call a stable temperature with high heat capacity for aquatic animals. That does not readily change. So that variation is going to be important for the aquatic animals. So when you look at another thing is wind. Wind is defined as air in motion. So we also talk about the strength of the wind determines a lot of activities in an ecosystem, including distribution of organisms. So you find that areas that are having a stronger wind will tend to have maybe a lot of few organisms being there, because maybe a strong wind is not conducive for their survival. We also have strong wind is able to distribute organisms. For example, dispersal of seeds. Very light seeds can easily be carried by many strong wind, so that it is distributed elsewhere. So wind is a way you can always distribute organisms in several means. Then when we come to humidity, humidity is defined as the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. And if you look at this, we have what we call, sometimes we have what we call hot, humid areas, and we also have, let's say, after the hot, humid areas, those areas that are having higher humidity. So during that time, most organisms will tend to lose little water when there is high water vapor in the atmosphere. But when there is low water vapor in the atmosphere, then organisms tend to lose a lot of water. So we say that humidity refers to the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere, and then organisms loses a lot of water from their bodies in areas with higher humidity. Not areas with high humidity, but areas with what? Low humidity. That means that they tend to lose a lot of water in form of water vapor. We also have what we are calling salinity as another factor. Salinity is referring to the salt concentration in a particular water. You find that only those organisms that have devised means and methods of coping with the high concentration of salt, they have means through which they are adapted to take care of the high salt concentration, will survive. Those ones that do not have such mechanisms will tend to migrate to other areas, so it is affecting distribution of organisms. We have what we call pH. pH by definition is what we are calling potential hydrogen concentration. That is the alkalinity, or rather basicity or acidity of an area of a solution. So different types of organisms work best at different pH, and therefore in this case we are going to find that pH will influence the distribution of organisms. Last but not least, we are talking about atmospheric pressure. And atmospheric pressure here, many a time there's a common saying that sometimes when the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. So this one will affect the oxygen distribution or concentration, so that it is going to in turn influence the distribution of organisms. So today we are looking at the abiotic factors, which I've said are non-living factors. We have talked about the temperature, how it affects different organisms in an area. We've talked about the light. We've seen how light is able to affect different types of organisms and their distribution. Water, presence of water, the importance of water in nature, that is a universal solvent, transport medium, and everything. We've talked about wind, wind which is air in motion, and we have seen how it affects different organisms. We've looked at humidity. We have also seen salinity, pH, and atmospheric pressure, how they affect different organisms and their distributions. I want to thank you for listening to our lesson of today, and till we meet next time.